Hey, rock stars. If you've been on the entrepreneurship journey for a while, you know this feeling. In all the interviews, in all the coaching calls, one truth kept coming up over and over again. Leadership is lonely. Business development is lonely. And entrepreneurship is lonely. You can't just talk to anyone about it. That's why I created the Catalyst Club, a private, values-driven community where you can speak the truth, be your authentic self, and connect with people who understand what you're going through and can actually help. We made it private so you feel safe. We made it affordable so no one gets left out. And we built it on values that matter, like showing up, sharing knowledge, and choosing growth over ego. Inside, you'll find coffee with rock stars for real talk and connection, unplugged Q&A for live coaching and clarity, and Catalyst sessions with world-class experts who light a fire under your next move. We're building the most supportive business community on the internet, and we want you to help us do it. Join us today at kellykennedyofficial.com. We're just getting started. Welcome to episode 259 of the Business Development Podcast, and this is the one you've been waiting for. Today, we're on part 6 of Podcast Playbook, and we are going to be talking all about how do we record our very first episode. You've done the prep. You've dialed in your gear, you've built the plan, and now it's time to hit record. But let's be honest, this is where most people freeze, not because they don't know what to say, but because they don't believe they're ready. Today, we're going to break down that barrier. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to structure your first episode, how to set up your mic for clean, pro-level sound, and most importantly, how to press record and not stop, even if it's messy. Because this is the moment where you stop planning and start podcasting. Let's go.
The great Mark Cuban once said, "Business happens over years and years. Value is measured in the total upside of a business relationship, not by how much you squeezed out in any one deal." And we couldn't agree more. This is the Business Development Podcast, based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and broadcasting to the world. You'll get expert business development advice, tips and experiences, and you'll hear interviews with business owners, CEOs, and business development reps. You'll get actionable advice on how to grow business. Brought to you by Capital Business Development, capitalbd.ca. Let's do it. Welcome to the Business Development Podcast. And now your expert host, Kelly Kennedy.
Hello, welcome to episode 259 of the Business Development Podcast. And today, it is my absolute pleasure to bring you part 6 of Podcast Playbook, where we're diving into mindset, show planning, mic setup, and recording execution. The lessons you learn here today will become the foundational tools for every successful episode that you record in your long podcasting future. However, I want you to remember, things evolve. You evolve over the course of your show. Your show planning and recording style will also evolve as you become more familiar with your process and the show you want to create. There is no one-size-fits-all show plan or recording style. Like everything creative, use what you find here as a guide and then carve your own path. I have to just pause for a quick moment here, guys, and give you a bit of a story. The reality is the way that I do show plans today has evolved greatly from the beginning of the show, and not always for the best. Sometimes things upgrade, sometimes you try new things, and sometimes you just find yourself going back to the beginning. But the reality is your show planning, the tools you use to do so will evolve, and that is completely okay. Remember, every show leads to the next one. You'll try things, they'll work or they won't, and you'll go back or you'll adapt the new thing, and that is okay. Understand that as we go through the show planning section of today's show, that this is just a place to start. You can ultimately change, update, try new things along the way. There is no right or wrong answer to how to show plan. make it yours. Now, one thing that does stand true, no matter how you do your show planning, is that every great show starts with a topic to cover. And this is where that 50 topic list that we covered earlier in this series will shine for you. I personally have had days in my podcasting career where I have covered all of the topics on my list, or I simply wasn't feeling the topics that I'd written down at that time. And what I can tell you is, coming up with show topics on the fly is simply really friggin' hard and not sustainable long term. It takes way too much mental bandwidth to do this week over week over week. Sometimes you're just not feeling it or you don't know what to talk about. The 50 topic list really solves that problem for you guys. Does this mean that you have to follow your topics list? No. If inspiration strikes on a different topic, or you choose to go off list for any reason, maybe a listener submits a topic for you and you'd rather cover that, no problem. However, having a list to go back to week over week has absolutely contributed to the longevity of this show, and I bet it will for you as well. Guys, I do this every single year. Every single year on the Business Development Podcast, typically around Christmas time, because I take a little bit of time off, obviously for family, but also for planning, okay? I do both my goals list for myself and Capital Business Development and the Business Development Podcast, and I challenge myself to write out the next 50 topics that I may want to cover in the coming year. No, I don't stick to them, guys. I don't stick to all the topics. Actually, there's plenty of times where I'll come back to my topic list and I'll be like, what was I thinking? Why do I want to talk about that? Or how would I even talk about that? But that's okay. Remember, it's not about having the perfect topic list that you can come back to. It's by simply having topics that you can choose in a pinch without having to come up with a whole nother one. Trust me, it is absolutely powerful. Go with the topic lists, make it a priority for yourself year over year, and it will absolutely sustain your podcast. And when you're in a pinch and you're looking for something to talk about and you don't have the bandwidth to figure it out, you already have a great list of topics to come from. And like I said, I can absolutely guarantee you it has saved my show, and it will save your show too. A good rule of thumb for picking your weekly topics is to pick one that you feel best about tackling. Going into the show plan motivated and excited about the topic will absolutely help you record a better show that both you and your listeners will love. This is absolutely critical, guys. Remember, you don't have to go in order. Although one year I did challenge myself to go in order, and I just kind of forced myself to take on the topics, and it did work out. It worked out because honestly, it took a lot of the challenge out of selecting a topic for me. However, understand that going into a show excited, like this one, I'm actually pumped about this show. Going into a show excited makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. It helps you connect with your audience. It makes you excited about talking, and it makes this recording part really, really easy. So if you have a topic list and you want to just go by how you're feeling that week, or if something comes up during the week and you're like, I have to talk about that, do it. That episode will be absolutely powerful, evergreen, and people will love it for years and years and years to come. So go into an episode excited. Find things that you get at least a little bit excited about and make that the thing you talk about that week. Like I said, it could be something that happened to you at work. It could be an event that happened. It could be a listener who reached out and said, I would love it if you talk about this. As long as you're excited about that topic, it's going to be a great one to tackle. If you're not really sure what to tackle, go back to your topic list, pick one that makes you feel good, and go from there. But the more that we can go into show recordings with a little bit of fire in our hearts, the better your show is absolutely going to be. Now that we have a topic, let's talk about the plan itself. A great episode starts with a great plan, but not as a rigid script, okay? Not as a script. The best podcasts don't sound like lectures. They sound like real conversations. Now, this doesn't matter whether you're talking to somebody or you're talking to a mic like I'm doing right now. Treat it like a conversation. As a matter of fact, many of the best interview shows that you have ever heard have likely had nothing more than some guest info for an introduction and a background and a basic 10 or so questions list simply to get the show back on track if need be. The authentic connection and curiosity on the guest make most great interviews flow. The best interviewers, guys, they have obviously a great introduction. They've done a little bit of research on their guests, so they know a little bit about them. However, they let the conversation flow. They pick in on things that the guests say. They double down, they go back, and they just explore the conversation in an organic, fun way. Yes, we have questions list, guys, but if you guys just go off the questions list, my gosh, it's going to be a dry, boring conversation, okay? Use your questions list to get you back on track, but explore where you're going with that guest. Narrow in on things they say. Try to dive deeper, dig deeper, learn about them. Go in with genuine curiosity, guys, and you will not blow an interview, okay? The secret to a great interview is to go with the flow, enjoy the conversation, learn about them, explore, and if they get way off topic, absolutely use one of your questions to bring them back. But most of the time, interviews work best when they flow. Like I mentioned earlier, your show structure and flow will evolve as you do. Guys, mine is still evolving, okay? It evolves all the time. It will evolve with you. Trust me on that. You will find things that you like to do. You will find flows that work as you evolve your skills, and your show layout should always feel more like an episode compass than a script, okay? As long as your arrow is pointing north, you can find your way to the conclusion. Have a direction, know the outline of where you want to go, but don't be afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to go off on tangent like I'm doing a little bit right now, and just explore and have a little bit of fun with it. Guys, if you're not having fun podcasting, you're not doing it right, okay? It's not about being a 9-to-5 job. It's about having fun, exploring yourself, learning about you, enjoying the experience and journey along the way, okay? Don't be afraid to go off script. Actually, go off script as often as humanly possible. Your show will thank you for it. Like I said, as long as your arrow is pointing north, you'll find your way to the end. We start every show with an opening, and every great opening has a hook that draws you into the episode. At the start of every business development podcast episode, we have a bit of a hook, a bit of an introduction to the show that hopefully makes our listeners a little bit more excited about what is coming their way. It does help to start with a question, a bold statement, a challenge, something that pulls people in immediately. You always also want to set the tone in the introduction as best as you can, okay? Briefly state what the episode is about and why it will matter to your listeners. Always try to make it exciting. Try to show them what is coming for them, okay? Add a personal bridge when possible. Share why this topic matters to you, your experience, your take. At the end of the day, knowledge is knowledge, but they want to hear it from you. What is your opinion on this? Why does it matter to you? Why the heck are you talking about this today? Like, for instance, we are doing Podcast Playbook series right now because it's something that is super, super exciting to me. I love podcasting. Podcasting has given me so much, and I want to give that to you. And I remember being at the start of my podcasting and simply not having an easy to follow guideline on how to do this. And just like with the Business Development Podcast, helping business developers, I want this series, Podcast Playbook, to launch hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of podcasts into the future. And it makes me super, super excited that I get to do that. And for me, that is what I'm here for. Now, pro tip on the intros, guys, don't make them too long. Try to get into the topics fairly quickly, especially if you have like business or teaching topics. You know, business people are busy, professionals are busy. We want to get to the meat and potatoes as soon as possible. And it is important to help your listeners out in this way, okay? You have more grace with like a comedy or an entertainment show to have a little bit of fun with it, but your listeners will appreciate you simply getting to it. Once you have your opening figured out, build a nice transition into your talking points. A great episode typically has between 3 and 5 main topics. You may notice that most of the early shows of the Business Development Podcast, I did them in a very like specific way like that, where I would have like 3 to 5 main talking points, with each one having about 3 to 5 sub talking points. And then I would kind of go through the outline and shoot from the hip as we went, and it worked really, really well, guys. It still works really well for me, although we do a little bit more research now than we did once upon a time. It's a little bit less shoot from the hip. It's a little more structured now. However, I still love to shoot from time to time. So don't be afraid to follow that outline and shoot from the hip and have a little bit of fun with it. For each main point, like I said, you're going to want to have about 2 to 5 sub talking points, right? So if you have 3 things you want to hit in your podcast episode, have about 3 to 5 points for each main thing that gives you some traction, gives you some depth, allows you to explore each topic deeply, okay? Now, these subpoints are your supportive ideas, examples, statistics, or counterpoints, okay? It allows you to explore, like I said, the main topic much deeper. Pro tip, don't be afraid to use AI to help you guys with facts or stats, but make sure to follow the links that it provides and make sure that they are real, authentic articles. And whenever possible, if you are using sources, it is respectful and the right thing to do to cite those sources, okay? Now, wherever possible, I want you guys to talk from experience. Share a real life struggle, share a real story or lesson, and let yourself wander a bit. The best thing about podcasting is going off script, okay? It really is. If you guys just hammer in on this script endlessly, you're going to go crazy. And so are your listeners, okay? People want to hear from you, your experience. What happened to you? Why is this valuable to you? What happened? What is the story behind this episode or this talking point, okay? Don't be afraid to wander. The best moments of almost every show, guys, is the unplanned moments. Trust me on this. The best moments come when you are willing to wander. This is where your natural energy is going to come in. You're not reading, you're remembering, you're reflecting, and most of all, you are storytelling. The best show plans are not really plans at all. They become more of a guiding outline. Use short, clean transitions to guide your listeners through the journey of the episode. You should place transitions between all of the main points and topics of the episode. It does not have to be complex. It simply has to let the listener know that we are moving on to the next part. They simply help your episode flow naturally, even if it's unscripted. Lastly, we must lead into the close. A great closing makes an episode memorable and impactful. Fun thing I learned about public speaking, guys, and I think it translates a little bit into podcasting as well, and it's that people remember most the introduction and the close of any speech, okay? Most people can barely tell you what happened in the middle, but they can absolutely tell you how it started and how it ended. They really leave impacts on people. Podcasting is no different. Make sure you open strong and you close strong. People will remember that. A great close will recap the core points and summarize how they connect. It will have personal reflection and share what you took away from the episode or what you want the listeners to take away. It will have a call to action. And this is important, guys, especially in podcasting. Tell your listeners what you want them to do next. We need their help as podcasters. Speaking to you, I need your help as a podcaster. Follow us, subscribe, tell people about us, or heck, even join our community. Hashtag the Catalyst Club. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, if you want to, I'm not going to say no. But the point is, ask for what you want. You absolutely need the support of your listenership. Make sure that you ask them. Listen, you'll never get what you don't ask for. That's the simple truth. If you ask, people tend to give you what you ask for. At the Business Development Podcast, we have been using aspects of the show plan flow for nearly every episode of the show, guys. We have tried both more rigid structures and less rigid structures, but I do find myself gravitating more and more back to an authentic flow wherever possible. If you lean towards a more scripted show, remember to insert yourself back into it. That's like absolutely key. You have to find moments, even if your show is super scripted, you have to find moments to put yourself back in, to go off the cuff, to explore a little bit, to tell a story. Don't be afraid to just go off script and talk, because if you just are constantly reading from a script, guys, it's really obvious. It is absolutely super obvious that you are simply reading from a script. And it's equally obvious when you are having fun, when you're going off script, when you're just having a good time. Don't be afraid. Like I said, if you take away one big thing about show planning from this, Don't be afraid to go off script. In fact, go off script every opportunity you can. This flow works really well for a number of reasons. You sound human, not robotic. When you go off script, guys, you are human. You are remembering, you're telling stories, you are literally going for it. And it is obvious. It is absolutely obvious. You can hear the passion, you can hear the excitement, you can hear the authenticity of it. You're engaging and not lecturing. You create connection, not just content. Remember, it's about connecting with your listeners at the end of the day. Yeah, we're out here making content, but at the same time, a podcast is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be relatable. Try to connect every chance you get. And it gives you consistency with variety. It's the same bones, but every episode becomes unique, and that is what you should aim for. We don't want to be repeating the same style, the same tone, the same show over and over and over again. We want to be unique every single time. Once you have your episode mapped out, your talking points set, and your flow dialed in for impact, you're not just thinking like a podcaster anymore. You are planning like one. Now, it's time to make sure that your sound does that plan justice, because no matter how good your message is, poor audio can distract your listener before they even hear it. It's time to get your mic set up right. First, we must pick the right space. Your space is everything, guys. A small room wherever possible with stuff on the walls, or if you have soundproofing stuff and you can make it more soundproof, it makes all the difference, okay? The better audio that we can start with, the better our end sound is going to be as well, which is why picking the right microphone and the right audio equipment in the very beginning does make all the difference. But even with really great microphones, you can still pick up a lot of room reverb. You can still pick up air conditioners. You can still pick up all sorts of stuff that is controllable within your environment. So preparing your space, making sure that you're not in a gigantic room or a big echoey hall, it's going to make a big difference in your sound. Wherever possible, we want to dampen that sound. We can do a lot in post to fix recordings, guys, but the more that we can do up front to get the best possible sound in the recording, the better overall that recording will sound. Try to record, like I said, in a quiet, soft environment. Avoid large, echoey spaces where possible. Add soft surfaces, carpet, curtains, pillows, or even record in a large closet for great acoustics. I've heard of many podcasters, guys, recording in their closet. I guess maybe if you got a big closet, why not? Pro tip. Bookshelves, pictures, soundproofing tiles, or foam make a big difference. It's so funny, guys. When I started the business development podcast, I actually started recording in what I called my hobby room. So I had like a room where I did like work stuff. I had like bookshelves everywhere, shelves everywhere, literally just like packed to the brim. And the show sounded amazing. And I didn't really like clue in why, but like there was no way for the sound to bounce around that room. It was always getting trapped in the bookshelf or on the pictures or the closet full of things, whatever, right? It was such a messy room. But the funny thing is that messy room made an incredible sound for my very first show. And so, like I said, in a certain case, maybe a messy room is actually the better podcast studio for most of us working from home. Number 2, we have to position the mic correctly, okay? Your microphone needs to be about 3 to 5 inches from your mouth, slightly off center by about 10 to 15 degrees to avoid plosives. Harsh P's and harsh B pops, guys. It happens. There are plosive filters you can get. Like it's like a netted mesh that you can put over your microphone or between your mouth and your mic. Or many high-end microphones actually come with a pop filter built into them. However, we still need to make efforts to cut back on plosives because it's not necessarily super easy to take out in post. We also want to position the mic at the mouth level or just slightly below, okay? That's going to give us the best sound. Number 3, we want to use accessories for clean sound. Like I said before, if your mic doesn't have a pop filter built in, you can actually buy a pop filter. It's very simple. It's typically like on like a little arm and you can fit it between your microphone and your mouth and it really cuts down on those harsh P's and B's. You're also likely going to want a shock mount or a boom arm to avoid vibrations from touching the desk or the microphone itself. Microphones are super sensitive, guys, especially if you have dynamic microphones or condenser microphones. Literally just touching the casing. Let's see. I'm touching mine right now. It's not working, but some of them just touching the casing is enough to create like scratching noises. So you're not typically touching your microphone, but you ultimately do want it set up in such a way that it is easy to adjust if needed. I have a Rode, I think it's a PS1 or something, a Rode PS1 boom arm that is absolutely incredible. I can move my mic around. I'm doing it right now. No issues moving the mic around, no noise typically. But you can get a desk mount, you can get a stand, but honestly, a boom arm, they're where it's at. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Get yourself a boom arm. And then, like I said, depending on your microphone, you may also need a shock mount that makes it so that you can adjust it without it making a ton of noise. But these accessories, they go a very, very long way into creating a great recording. Number 4, we have to set the gain levels properly. Guys, this is the thing that will absolutely destroy your audio. If you get this wrong, or if this doesn't work out right, or if the computer automatically adjusts your gain every once in a while, by the way, Windows, what the heck? This can absolutely destroy your audio, and in my case, has probably destroyed at least 3 recordings of the Business Development Podcast. So, what am I talking about with gain levels? It is the sensitivity of your microphone. It's the volume at which it is recording you. You can either have too quiet, where the gain is set too low and I can barely hear it. Remember, with audio, a lot of it can be boosted, right? A lot of audio can be fixed. You will be leveling your audio out in the edit stage to make it the right loudness. However, the recording loudness itself is really important. If your gain is too low and you're having to boost it a ton to hear it, it's also going to boost all of the ambient noise in the background. That could be like your kids talking upstairs. It could be your washing machine. It could be, the water coming down the drains. It could be your air conditioner, your heater, whatever. If your volume is being recorded too low and you have to boost it a whole bunch just to hear you, guess what? We can't just boost your voice. It's very hard, just the voice, although plugins do make it easier. We'll talk about that, like I said, next time. However, you are absolutely going to want to record at a proper level. The opposite is also true. If the gain is set too high, you get something called peaking. There is no recovering from peaking, guys. If your audio gets peaked, it will destroy and distort the audio. It'll make it a completely unusable recording, and there is nothing we can do post to fix peaking. If your gain is set too high and we're peaking and we're destroying the audio, it's toast. And unfortunately, I had an incredible interview with Liz Ryan once. And guys, my computer audio got tweaked in Windows. Remember, we don't just set the audio gain on the audio interface itself. Windows itself, once you're plugging in, also has gain settings that you may have to neutralize or get rid of. And one time, guys, I was interviewing, my setup was fine on the interface. However, Microsoft settings were set too high. It totally blew out my audio. I didn't check. I destroyed the recording, and I had to go back and ask very, very nicely. And Liz is amazing and was totally willing to do it again. However, had to completely record that interview that should have only been recorded once due to improperly set gain settings. So how do we set our gain properly? We have to start with our audio interface, okay? So it doesn't matter what audio interface you have, it's going to have a gain setting on it, okay? And we want to start with that gain somewhere around 25 to 40% of max as a baseline. Start there, test it, and go from there. We want to aim for peaks between -6 decibel and -3 dB. That's the highest you want it to go, guys. You can see this inside of your recording software on the meter. So as you record a show, you're going to have a metering system inside of your recording software, and you're going to be able to test to see where it's showing up. And you want those settings at the highest point when you're being the loudest to be between -6 and -3. As long as you're there, your recording is always going to come out perfect. Now, how do we do this? Very simple. Do a short test, check the levels, and then adjust to avoid clipping or being too quiet. This is one of those things, guys. Like I said, it's bit me. It's bit probably thousands, if not tens of thousands of podcasters over time. Getting your levels right is like night and day. If we can get our levels right from the very beginning, get it set in a way, you can kind of set it and forget it. Although, however, like I said, Windows, I don't know what the heck it does. Every once in a while, it changes your mic settings on you. By the way, if you're listening to this and you know what that is, please let me know. It's super annoying, but always check your mic settings before you record, before you have an interview with somebody, just to make sure that Windows hasn't done something. However, most of the time you should be fine. Most of the time it does hold level, and you're going to be able to get the sound that you want. Number 5, we have to check our distance and consistency. Remember, we always want to be between 3 and 5 inches from that microphone, okay? Keep your mouth a consistent distance from the mic, because if we go too far, we get this. And if we go too close, we get this. We need to make sure that we keep our mouth at a consistent distance so that we get the same sound throughout the whole show. We have to avoid turning our head or moving too far away when speaking, because if we move too far away, this is what happens. And if we turn our head, this is what happens. So we have to speak directly into our microphones to get the sound that we want. Number 6, we have to use the right mic modes. Now, not all microphones have modes. So first off, let me just start by stating that. However, I have had Blue Yeti microphones who had multiple modes, like 5 or 6 modes. So if your microphone does have modes, you want it to be set into cardioid mode, okay? Cardioid mode picks up sound from the front of the microphone and rejects noise from the sides. That's what we want. We don't want the room sound. We don't want the yelling coming from our living room. We want the noise coming right into our microphones from our mouth and our mouth only. If we can reject sounds from everywhere else, our podcast is going to sound much, much better. Number 7, we have to eliminate noise sources. Turn off your fans, your air conditioner, noisy electronics nearby. Silence your phones, your computer apps and notifications that could ring or jingle. LinkedIn, if you leave your LinkedIn open and people message you, it is going to ding. Yes, that has happened many times on this show. Number 8, do a final test recording. Once again, test again. Record 10 to 15 seconds of normal talking. Listen back on your headphones and catch pops, background noises, or distortion, and make adjustments as needed. Listen, if we just take those like 1 to 2 minutes ahead of every recording and we just check, where's this thing at? It's going to save you potentially multiple shows that get destroyed. All right. Your mic is in position. Your sound is clean and you are ready to go technically. But now it gets real. The gear only gets you so far. Now we have to face the biggest challenge you likely face in your podcasting journey. In fact, it nearly killed this very show on episode 3. Doubt, nerves, that little voice that asks, am I really ready for this? Am I even good enough? Who am I to do this? This is where the real work starts. The mindset you bring into that moment will shape the future of your entire show. Your mindset ahead of the recording will make or break your show. This is the final mental hurdle between you and your first episode. And it's the one that takes out most would-be podcasters before they even get started. You're likely never going to be more hard on yourself than the first 10 or so episodes. You have to overcome that imposter syndrome. And the only way to overcome it, guys, is to show it who's boss, is to show up week over week and say, I am a podcaster. I can make a difference. This show is going to change the world, and I'm going to show up and do it. Also, everyone hates the sound of their voice, okay? I remember hearing myself for the first time live, and I was like, is that really what I sound like? Because most of us have never heard ourselves recorded. We don't tend to record ourselves all that often. And so hearing our voice in the same way that other people hear it is a little bit freaky and a little bit weird. So understand you're not alone in this. Every single person who has recorded themselves ever feels the same way. You will absolutely get used to it. You may also be worried about saying the wrong thing. We've all been there. Listen, you got this, okay? It's super, super normal. What matters right now is that despite all those fears, you hit record anyways. Remember, you're not making the perfect episode here. You're making your first episode. Your goal isn't to impress everyone. It's to connect with someone. Your episode does not have to be perfectly polished. It just has to be real. It just has to be authentically you. Now, some things can make this easier for you, okay? I want you all to consider building a pre-recording ritual, okay? It's a 1 to 2 minute ritual that helps you shift from thinking to doing. You can try any of the following, okay? Number 1, hydrate and breathe. Water and deep breathing to relax. Number 2, smile before you speak. It changes your tone instantly. Number 3, anchor your intention. Say it out loud. I am here to help someone today. I am a podcaster. Number 4, visualize. Picture your ideal listener and speak to them, not an audience. And number 5, do a warm-up take. Record 10 seconds, delete it, and then go again. Sometimes just like that initial recording can absolutely help you. Now, I have a couple rituals that have helped me throughout the business development podcast that I still do most of the time. I don't do it every time, I got to be honest, but I still do it. And one of the things that really got me amped up in the beginning of my show was listening to my intro. We had our intros created for the show, like I talk about early on in the series. And I love it. I love the sound of my intro. And so for me, getting warmed up, I would just hit the intro button and I'd be like, and I'd listen to it. And maybe I'd hit it again and I'd listen to it until I was amped up and ready to go. That worked for me. The other thing that you may notice when I do my guest interviews is every single guest interview, I write a custom introduction and I read it. And by the time I'm done reading their introduction, I am pumped, I'm amped up, they're pumped, they're amped up, and we are ready to rock. So there are a couple of rituals that we have on the Business Development Podcast. Feel free to copy them. However, make your own. Figure out what works for you. Figure out what pumps you up, gets you ready to record. It will make all the difference for you. Listen, you don't need permission. You don't need perfection. You just need to start. Once you hit record, you're not just talking to a mic. You're stepping into your voice. This moment will change your life forever. This is where the magic begins. It's time to hit the record button. And I have one simple rule for you. Real simple. Ready? Don't stop. Don't stop. Once you hit the record button, just start talking. Don't overthink the opening. Don't worry if you make a mistake or it's not perfect. If you mess up a word or a sentence, no problem. I literally just messed up the last one. Pause, take a breath, and say it again. Don't stop the recording. Don't go back to the beginning. Just keep rolling. You're not recording for perfection. You're recording for momentum. Stopping kills your flow automatically. Every time you stop and start, you break your rhythm and lose your voice. Editing exists for a reason. You can fix all the mess ups later, easily, very easily. Pauses, stutters, repeats, they are all very simple to cut out. But the energy of the moment, that only comes from a clean run. Just keep going. Guys, that's the best piece of recording advice I can give you. Don't stop. If you make a mistake, just pause, repeat it. You're going to do just fine. Here are some tips that can really help your recording and the edit. If you make a mistake, no big deal. Pause after the mistake and then again after the correction. This gives editors a clear, clean section to cut without running into overlapping speech. Smile when you speak. It makes you more engaging without even realizing it. Number 3, if you need a second, just take it. A deep breath mid-episode beats panic every time. Number 4, if you're solo, speak like you're talking to a friend, not an audience. And just like that, you did it, guys. You did it. You recorded your very first podcast episode. It might not be perfect. It might have some stumbles, but here's the thing. I still make mistakes all the time. I made mistakes in this very show. I still stumble. What matters is it's real. It's yours. It exists. And that alone puts you miles ahead of people still sitting on their idea. You showed up. You spoke your truth. You hit record. That's a massive win, and you are absolutely amazing. Now take a breath, celebrate the progress, and get ready for the next part of your podcasting journey. Next week, we're going to take that raw audio and we're going to turn it into a powerful, polished, professional episode you will be proud to share with the world. Podcast editing, here we come. And that takes us to the end of our show today, guys. But last but not least, if you are a podcaster, a business developer, a leader, an executive, I want to hear from you. I want to see you. Come hang out with us inside of the Catalyst Club. The Catalyst Club was built for you, was built for leaders, was built to be an authentic place where we can come together, share our wins, share our challenges, support each other as a group of peers. We have weekly events, guys, inside the club. Come join us. www.kellykennedyofficial.com/The Catalyst Club. We'll see you inside. Shout outs this week. Chloe Wu, John Pelly, Rodney Lover, Gary Noseworthy, Susan Paseka, Colin Harms, Vijayan Swaminathan, Amin Samji, Tatiana Zametalina, Antonio Garcia, Jason Chakalakal, Dan Sonnenberg, Andrew Z. Brown, Raphael Servin, Mike Hayes, Jamar Jones, David Henriquez, Adam Kimmel, Phil Hayes St. Clair, Isa Montalvo, and Lauren Graff. Until next time, you've been listening to the Business Development Podcast, and we will catch you on the flip side.
This has been the Business Development Podcast with Kelly Kennedy. Kelly has 15 years in sales and business development experience within the Alberta oil and gas industry and founded his own business development firm in 2020. His passion and his specialization is in customer relationship generation and business development. The show is brought to you by Capital Business Development, your business development specialists. For more, we invite you to the website at www.capitalbd.ca. See you next time on the Business Development Podcast.
Hey, rock stars. If you've been on the entrepreneurship journey for a while, you know this feeling. In all the interviews, in all the coaching calls, one truth kept coming up over and over again. Leadership is lonely. Business development is lonely. And entrepreneurship is lonely. You can't just talk to anyone about it. That's why I created the Catalyst Club, a private, values-driven community where you can speak the truth, be your authentic self, and connect with people who understand what you're going through and can actually help. We made it private so you feel safe. We made it affordable so no one gets left out. And we built it on values that matter, like showing up, sharing knowledge, and choosing growth over ego. Inside, you'll find coffee with rock stars for real talk and connection, unplugged Q&A for live coaching and clarity, and Catalyst sessions with world-class experts who light a fire under your next move. We're building the most supportive business community on the internet, and we want you to help us do it. Join us today at kellykennedyofficial.com. We're just getting started.